Well, Coasters, today I've got an interview with a lady, Ingrid, lives in New South Wales, and she sent an email in, and she's one of close to 200 emails with stories on I have at the moment, ignoring the hundreds and hundreds of comments that have come through from people who really care and are very unhappy about how we're dealing with part of our team of 6 million, 1 million of whom live offshore, some of whom want to come home, 30,000 at the moment. And what they're being put through is unacceptable. It's inhumane, it's creating health issues, it's creating financial issues. And is there a solution? Of course there's a solution. Let them home isolate when they come home. Double vaxxed or triple vaxxed, home isolate, and let them rejoin our community, their community. It's really important. So it's this has been quite an experience for me, talking with so many people who are impacted, and I can relate, and like all Kiwis will be able to, I can relate to the trauma they're going through, and the difficulties, and the mental health issues, and financially, you know, having nowhere to live, being basically thrown on the street. Let's listen to Ingrid. You'd be quite impressed. Well, Coasters, right around the country today, weather's fine. I've got a wee bit of cloud here on the coast, but nothing you can't complain about. We're looking for rain at the moment. We've had 12 days of fine weather. We've got a drought. But look, today, the point of the interview is we're talking to Ingrid, and she's a Kiwi. She's stuck in New South Wales. So Ingrid, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Bruce.
Oh no, it's really great. So where do you come from?
So I'm originally one of those Jaffers. I'm from Auckland, but I've lived in the South Island for quite a while, and now I have a small place in Auckland Falls near Rotorua.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
well, that'd be beautiful, and no doubt you want to get back to it.
Oh yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah.
Now listen, contrary to what people say, we like Jaffers.
Oh, okay.
We always throw stones at them in fun, but look, they make up a big portion of South Island tourism, and it's a really important part.
Yeah.
So
I had all my children in the South Island, so we're a pretty mixed crew, I must say.
What part of the island did you live in?
I was living in Queenstown for a while, and then I went to university in Christchurch.
Well, you're lucky thing. Queenstown's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Just beautiful. Now you're stuck in New South Wales.
Yes, that's right. And I'm in the country music capital of Australia called Tamworth. Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been in Aussie?
It's just over 2 years now. I came for a 6-month contract, but I'm still here. So it's working in family therapy for families that are referred for child abuse and neglect. So it's some pretty intense work, and I'm hoping that we'll get this program over in New Zealand one of these days. So yeah, it's a really effective program.
So Ingrid, when you made the decision to come home, what did you do? What was the process that you had to do?
Well, the process was going through this whole MIQ lottery system, which I've been trying to do since July last year. Like every time, and it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just so soul destroying. It's you're online waiting for this lottery, hoping above all hope that you'll get your MIQ spot so you can go home. So that's been so stressful, and like every time I just kind of
Yeah.
fall into a heap. And
So do you still have a job there, or have you resigned from your job?
yeah, well, once New Zealand announced that we could isolate at home, I immediately resigned from my job and booked my flight home. So I do still have a job for the next couple of weeks, and I've got a house for another week, and then I'll be homeless and jobless, as it were, based on New Zealand's decision to let us in. And now so I'm in this quandary of wanting to be home and being stuck here. So I don't know whether to apply for another job or so it
I can
feels
certainly understand that. And so
like a hard space. Yeah.
So with coming back to New Zealand, you have you got your housing sorted out over here?
Yes, I own a little cottage in Waikato Falls, and I gave my tenants the obligatory 62 days notice.
Right.
And they left after 10 days. So I've still got a rather hefty mortgage to pay. It feels a little bit scary that I've got no income coming in from that, and I'll be unemployed here very soon. So that feels really quite a scary place to be.
Must be very stressful.
Yeah.
How many times have you tried getting through this dreadful MIQ system?
Oh, I was thinking about that this morning. I don't even know. I think it's about 8 or 9 times. Like every single time it's been on. And I think the last time I was, the number came up, it was 16,097, and you just gotta go. I was about 256 places to go in the queue on one, and I thought maybe, but that's the closest I've got. Yeah.
That must be soul destroying.
Yeah, that is the word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you obviously have children in New Zealand, do you, or grandchildren?
Yeah, I've got 2 children in New Zealand, and I've got a granddaughter who I haven't seen for such a long time, and that feels really hard. And I really want to see my kids and my grandbaby. That's
Do you have any folks that are still alive in New Zealand?
Yeah, my mum, she's 88, and I really want to see her.
88. That's a good age.
Yeah, she's pretty special. But I think that was one of the hard things, like wanting to come home, and she needed an operation recently.
No, I understand. Now you've got a son living with you in Australia?
Yeah, I've got a 21-year-old, and he's enrolled at Waikato University. So he's been super excited about starting uni and coming home with me. And so we've had some moments, trying to support each other. Yeah, because he's pretty upset. Just go, what do I do, Mum? I can't get home in time.
So what will he do?
We don't know. We don't know yet. We're trying to defer. We're going to try again for the next hideous lottery, which hearsay is supposed to be on the 20th of January, and hope that we can get in. I've just seen an announcement that there's some emergency allocations, so we'll try for that as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So we're just trying everything to try and get home. Yeah.
Well, best of luck on that. So how have you found that it impacted you? Because that's a long time to be being dangled at the end of a string. How's it going, mental health wise? How are you feeling?
Oh, that's not a good question. It's interesting because I work with trauma all the time, and I work in mental health, and it feels like just close to tears.
Yeah. And I guess look, I'm not experienced in that area, but is it because you can't see? We all get through our lives because we've got a bit of a plan.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's right. And I'm absolutely a planner.
yeah,
And so this, not having plans and not knowing what's going to happen in the next few weeks is, you just kind of feel incredibly vulnerable. And it's really hard. And I do have a job in New Zealand, which I've applied for and got. So I'm really excited about that, but I don't know how long they'll wait in terms of me getting across. So, that's difficult as well, because I'm really keen to, just get home and just get on with my life.
get on with the ordinary life. So is the job that you've got lined up in the same specialist area that you're in Australia?
Yeah, it's you're working with people impacted by trauma, ironically. Yeah.
Well, what does that mean, Ingrid? Is it trauma? Is it fatalities, or is it MIQ, or is it, what are the types of traumas?
No, this is historical trauma. It's quite a different scenario. Yeah.
So quite a specialist field.
Yeah.
We're in the most amazing situation in this country. We have people like you sitting there, desperate to get back. Over here in New Zealand, we are desperate for specialised people that have got skills in the areas that you've got skills in. And everyone's saying, well, it's a real problem. We just can't get the people. Well, blow me down. You're sitting over there in New South Wales.
Yes, wanting to be home. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think that, if you had a message to give to, or a bit of advice to give to the people that are in government that are running the system, what would it be? Because you've obviously spent months and months thinking about it. What can they do? What can they change from a practical point of view to get things moving?
Well, I guess there's a few things. I think it's considering the impact on people's mental health of not being able to come home.
Yeah.
It's the human touch. Like, I desperately want to hug my daughter and my granddaughter. Those things they have a huge toll on, as you were saying, for so many families. And I do think there are other ways to manage this. It seems like I'm not, opposed to having an MIQ system, but clearly there are not enough spaces. Personally, I'd like to see a much better and fairer system where people can come home and self-isolate. Surely we could have some kind of monitoring system.
It's interesting. That's a very common message. I mean, you're probably double vaxxed.
Yeah, I've got triple vax coming this weekend. Yeah.
Triple vaxxed. You've got a home to move into at home. You can self-isolate for a week, 10 days, or whatever you need. And when we look at your circumstances and we consider it with, say, some of the circumstances that we're reading about, I don't want to pick on the Wiggles because my kids love the Wiggles.
Yes.
And the DJs that get in and the sports people that get in, and there's some inconsistencies that are just grossly unfair.
Yeah.
And we know there's 30,000 people in Australia in this, in the boat at the moment, in this terrible limbo.
Yeah. I think they cancelled 27 flights just in January. It's because I'm one of the many who went, Yahoo, I could go home, self-isolate. Yeah.
It's been, the stories need to be told. And, I guess one of the areas that I come from, and coming from a family where, my dad spent 5 years in World War II and my grandparents went to Gallipoli, and they, and it was all based around that magnificent thing we have, which is a New Zealand passport. And it guarantees you the right of entry and the right of exit from the country. And so does our Bill of Rights. But the government, of course, has as it should, the power to override that for a short period of time. But that was 22 months ago.
Yeah, and I think that's it, to start with. It felt like, I was one of the many who felt a real sense of pride in New Zealand being so well cared for. And now it's gone to just this horrible, cruel space that, I can't go home. I can't hug my kids. I can't hug my mum. And, and experience. I've got one of my work colleagues and two of my friends here in Tamworth have got, the Omicron. And I'm not a scientist or a medical professional, but they're saying, oh, it's annoying, but it's a bit like a cold. It's not a big deal. So it's interesting. It just kind of feels like, I think we need to look really carefully about what are we dealing with.
I think that's the difficulty when your government doesn't have the experience to be able to make its own decisions, and it hands it over to health. Now, health traditionally is super conservative and very risk averse, and it appears that Omicron around the world is not creating the problems with hospitals and deaths that were predicted, that were modelled. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so, like you, I'm no expert, but what I do know is that the people that I've been talking to are all saying the same thing. It was like a bad cold. It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the sooner we open up, get it into the country, and stop counting it every day. I mean, we don't count the flu every day in the winter.
No.
We don't shut the country down when the hospitals are full of flu patients most years. Haven't been in the last couple of years, but we've got to be a bit more practical. And I think one of the things I can tell you, Ingrid, is that of the messages I've had, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of messages. I've had over 200 emails with stories.
Wow.
And the thing that the messages coming through is that they all care. These people care about you and the other people that are in this state. There's quite a groundswell of people who are saying, this is not right. And we do care for you. And we're going to keep telling the stories, because the government ministers need to listen and actually get into the real world and say, well, how is this person, how's Ingrid impacted? Okay, well, look, she's not going to have a house, not going to have a job, she's jammed there, she can't move, she's got a house in New Zealand, she's got a skill that we desperately want. We can't ignore her. We've got to do something about it. And so I want to really thank you for agreeing to, spend a few minutes and talk about your situation. And so if you had a final message to give to the politicians or to someone who cares that's in the political circle, because they're different to the average New Zealander. The average New Zealander loves you, wants you home, understands completely why you need to hug the kids and why you need to hug mum. We understand, because that's what we are. What's the message that you could give to a politician? Do you have something you could say that?
Just let us come home. We're part of the flock. We're part of the whānau. We are part of the fabric of New Zealand, and this is really hurting us.
Well, Coasters, that was Ingrid, and she's one of 1 million New Zealanders that live offshore. 1 million. 30-odd thousand of them. And of course, they all don't want to come home, because a lot of them have got lives and what have you. But there's 30-odd thousand that are desperate to get home. If one person was trapped on an island somewhere, our government would spend millions of dollars to ensure that that person was rescued and brought home, because they've got a Kiwi passport and they're important. And I say to the government, you're overlooking the health and well-being of part of our team of 6 million. We're not a team of 5 million. We're a team of 6 million. And Ingrid, you're one of them, and we really care for you.
Thank you.
We'll catch you later.
Okay, bye.
The coast is quite moving, wasn't it? It was quite moving. Lovely lady. And, you know, if you look at her situation in a nutshell, she's stuck in New South Wales. She's resigned from her job. She's let go of her rental. And all on the premise of getting home, following the government's announcement of the home isolation that they were bringing in last year. So she took the announcement at face value and went from there. She has a house in Rotorua, and she gave the tenants their notice, 62 days notice, and she's heading home. So she's got an empty cottage, no rental income. She'll still have a mortgage and she'll still have fixed outgoings with no income on that side of the ledger as well. She's tried 7, 8, 9 times to get through MIQ. And it's clearly had a significant impact on her. As she said every time, she misses after being 16,000 in the queue. She bursts into tears because it's a further step away from being able to hug her kids, her grandchildren, and to see her mum, who's 88 years old. You know, it's getting on, isn't it? So she's got a son, and her son lives with her in Australia, and they're both coming back to New Zealand. They're both coming back. He's going to go to university, but he can't plan. He's on, he's off. He's in the lottery. He's number 17,000 in the frigging lottery. And yet he's a Kiwi. He's a Kiwi. He's got a passport. Him and his mum have got a right of entry. They've got the right to come, enter, and leave New Zealand. And once again, I have to reiterate the fact that, yes, the New Zealand government has the right, in the event of a pandemic or something really tragic happening, to suspend that right on a temporary basis. 22 months is not temporary. 22 months is torture. And I keep going and looking at the situations where something's happened around the world. Someone gets caught somewhere, someone's trapped on an island, people in Afghanistan, people all around the place. And we pull the pin, we pull the plug out, we do everything we possibly can to bring those people home. That's what we do, because they're part of our team of 6 million. Well, government, you've dropped the ball on this one. It's a serious, serious issue, and you continue to ignore it. For heaven's sake, bring back home isolation and bring them in. Double vaxxed, triple vaxxed, the skilled people, but more importantly, they're Kiwis, they're New Zealanders. They've got a passport, they're taxpayers. In God's name, help them. Catch you later.